Got a special young man here with me today, a young man that I had the opportunity to watch grow up. I was on the coaching staff when he was playing football at Rome High School. Watched him grow into a fine young man. Reggie was a college football American at Carson Newman College. He got his degree, graduated, and wound up getting into the coaching field. Reggie's last job coaching was at Carrollton High School. Since then, Reggie has transitioned from education and coaching into the insurance business. He has his own agency here in Rome, Georgia, and he's off the ground and he's doing some great things. And we're just glad to have him here. Reggie, thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Glad to see you, brother.
Yes, sir.
How you been doing, man?
Good,
man. I just, I want to say something personal to you, man. I watched you, I guess I probably knew you 6th, 7th grade. I watched you play at the boys club, and I worked for your brother Franco at Rome, and you was just always a stand-up young man, and it's been a pleasure to watch you grow up and grow into a family person, a man, and just the things you've accomplished, man. I'm really proud to have seen that walk for you, so I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Let's start off here, Reggie. Tell us about your journey here in Rome, man. I mean, you grew up here. As I mentioned, you played at the Boys and Girls Club football. You have a tremendous family. And just tell us a little bit about that journey growing up here in Rome.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. My family. I mean, we all grew up, doing everything. My parents always took care of me. And then obviously I had my brothers and sisters and cousins and everybody, we were a big family.
Right.
And, we all grew up playing together and doing different things. Grew up at the Boys and Girls Club. I spent every day of my life at the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
Every day they were open, I was there.
Right.
And so just family and relationships had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I tell families and parents all the time that the family is the key to the success of children. And you got the village and you got people that, step in because you need everybody. But the core is the family. And I know for a fact that you had a tremendous family. Yeah. You just look at your brothers and sisters and how y'all live and how y'all carry yourselves. What did that family environment instill in you growing up?
Just doing the right things. The biggest thing is there were some non-negotiables in our family,
right,
in our household. There were some things that that other people were doing, and it was at no point did I think that I should be doing that because
right,
at home I knew we wasn't going to do it.
Right.
And there were some things. I used to look at some of my friends and some people and was like, man, why do they have to come home?
Right.
Why can't they stay out? I mean, why can't I stay out with them?
Right.
But then, I understand, now I see there's a reason,
right.
And there's a reason that I had to go home. There's a reason that I had to do certain things. And I mean, you look at, like I said, my family and what my parents and, I guess a lot of people don't have, but like I was coaching. My brother was, when I got to high school, he was coaching me in the high school. So we were tight, but it was always kind of an eye out on us, but being raised, I say right, being raised by great parents, I didn't have the want to go out and do
right,
all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I knew that wasn't a part of it. It wasn't going to be allowed.
Right.
So.
You mentioned about playing for your brother, Franco. I had the pleasure of working for Franco when he was the head coach at Rome. Actually, Franco brought me back to Rome to be the middle school coach after I had left. Franco was a great guy, man, still is. How did that feel to have an older brother coaching on the coaching staff when you was playing? And I know it probably put some pressure on you, but how did y'all manage that?
It was good. So I mean, he started coaching, I think, my freshman year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I really didn't know. Like he was my ride to practice.
Right.
I had ride to practice. I had things. So it was just kind of normal. It wasn't a deal to where I was there and then he came in.
Sure.
And that it was just kind of how it was. Actually, he was my position coach.
Yeah.
I played defensive end, and he was defensive end coach, and so that was it was some stuff that he would come and it was like, hey, you need to do this,
right?
Like you need to do this, and he was somebody that obviously I looked up to, and he played college ball. He did these different things. It's like, all right, he knows what he's talking about.
Right.
So, I usually try to do right. And, so for stuff like that he had told me, hey, you need to do this to get better. You need to do this. Hey, try to do this. So he tried to give me a little pointers on stuff that kind of helped me out in some of that stuff.
Yeah, I always thought y'all handled that really well, man. Y'all was some great people. You wind up being a doggone good football player. I mean, we watched you, and I always said, man, Reggie was 6'3", 270 pounds, man. He'd be playing at Georgia, Tennessee somewhere, But you was a real explosive lineman. You came off the ball with great technique. I remember it, man. Your ability got you a scholarship. It got you to Carson Newman University. And you went there, and man, to be a 3-time All-American at school, that is a tremendous accolade there, because a lot of people don't do that, man. That's just amazing. But I want to talk a little bit briefly about Carson Newman. What led you there? Because I know Franco went there, so you had some family that had went through there, and a lot of other kids from Rome had went there. What was that? What led you there, or was it something else?
That was a big part of it. That was a big part of it. It was the coaches, the recruiting visit. I remember when they came and recruited Franco. Sitting on the couch with Coach. He had a ring that was about this hand. Coach Floyd. He had his fingers humongous. He had a national championship ring, and that was a part of it. I like winning, and I know they were going to win. But another part of it was that Franco went there, and I knew that Jason Coates was up there at the time, and so I knew some people that were going to be up there. But just. And it's stuff that I probably didn't realize at the time with, being young, being 18 or whatever. But the way that coaching staff was, and the way they treat people, and the way what they instill in you, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, you're not going to be successful like that to that level without some people putting a lot of good things into you. I've been an athlete in another generation. My son was an athlete. I watched a bunch of athletes, man. It's a lot different now. Me and you was talking earlier. What do you think is the biggest difference from now to even your time? It's changed a great deal.
I think a lot has changed. When I was growing up, we were. And there are still people like this, and they're going to be there. But there were people, like I had no other thought about ever being anywhere else. Like I knew that I was going to go to this elementary school, Rome Middle School, Rome High School. There was no, well, if I didn't play, I'm doing this. Or if the coach was mean to me, I'm doing this. Or if this happened, there was no other thought on that. And so now I think with all the portal stuff and with all the movement in high school and wherever, probably it's in middle school and everywhere now, with all the movement and stuff that's going on, I think that's the biggest part is I feel like there has been a little bit loss of, that community that I want to be obviously I'm hearing I want to be a Rome Wolf, or when I was in Carrollton, I want to be in that, and I want to be a Trojan, or I want to be a Cane. There are still a lot of people that do that, but I don't think it's as much anymore. And I think it's a lot more parent involvement that that I don't know. My parents worked all the time, so we went to practice, and they weren't at practice. They weren't. They were. I got picked up from practice, so they wasn't just sitting there going, "Why didn't he run that route? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he know?" So it was went to practice. How did practice go? All right, be there tomorrow. It wasn't. I'm mad at the coach because you didn't get this rep, and we're leaving.
Being somebody that just got out of high school coaching, what advice would you tell a parent today about dealing with a kid that's playing high school football, about how to manage that process? Because I know you got a son growing up, and I mean, we just talked about him earlier in the back. He's finna be in the 7th grade, and you're finna have to do some of that stuff. So what would you think would be the way to handle that situation? And how are you going to handle it?
Well, that's something I'm working through. It's a whole lot easier to talk about it when you're not dealing with it, when you're not handling, when you're not having to worry about it. And that's what even with my son, when he was younger doing stuff, and man, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's kind of like you said before, like when you, to me, he could do so much more,
right?
But to somebody else, it's like, man, he did a great job.
Well, he's doing good,
right? Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing is, as long as they're working hard, as long as they're doing right and giving it all they got, people gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes,
exactly.
And that's the biggest thing. If the when I get upset about watching him do something, if he's not going full speed.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that you can help control, or maybe that's when you have that issue with your child. If it's an effort deal, it's a mistake. Mistakes are made. It's only been one perfect man ever.
That's what I've always said. Teach work ethic, teach pride, teach determination, teach the intangible things that make you a good person. Because if you're a good person and you work hard, you got a great attitude, you can be successful in anything. And unfortunately, a lot of our kids lack in a lot of those areas, and it creates problems.
And some of that stuff, like you said, the mistakes. If somebody gets on them every time they make a mistake, they're gonna be afraid to make mistakes.
Definitely.
So if you're afraid to make mistakes, you're not gonna go full speed.
Definitely.
You're not gonna be good. So look, hey, you made a mistake, but it was full speed. I love it. Let's keep rolling.
Definitely. Okay, Reggie. You had just an extraordinary career at Carson Newman. You graduated from there. You moved into coaching, high school coaching. Did you want to coach because your brother was a coach, or was it something that you aspired to do as you grew up, or was it something that was just like, it's right here in front of me, I'm gonna go do it?
So a lot of the stuff that why I was successful in high school, successful in college, it wasn't because I was big. When I talk to people, hey, what'd you play? I played offensive line. You didn't play? Yeah, I played offensive line.
Right.
And
you was a little bigger than you.
But I wasn't no taller. I wasn't no taller.
Right,
and so I had to do a lot of things the right way.
Sure.
I had to do. I had to take the right step. If I didn't take the right step, I was probably gonna get beat. And I had to do everything right. And that's something that coaches taught me.
Sure.
That I was taught. And as I continue to go through high school, through college, what was poured into me, and I could see me change from a young man to a man, I guess. And I could see other people's lives change from coaches. From we had people from Miami that came in with they were the toughest, hardest people in the world, and by the time they got through their senior year, they were a completely different person. And just seeing that change in people, and knowing that the impact that coaches made and what you can have on a young man's life or a kid's life or whoever's life, that was important to me. I love football.
Sure.
That was another part of it, and I was done playing but I still love football,
Mhm.
you know. So it's like, all right, this is the way I can continue to do, continue to do football. But while doing that, I could pour into people and hopefully help shape people's lives as I've been shaped.
Right. Well, we think about your playing career, and you just said yourself, you was kind of a perfectionist because you felt like you had to be in order to be successful. Now sometimes we deal with kids that don't have a lot of, they have a lot of talent, but they don't use it appropriately. Don't have the greatest work ethic, don't have, a lot of drive to be good, but they want to play and they want success. How do you handle those type of kids? How did you handle them? And how would you tell a parent, look, these are the things you got to look for, in a kid that wants to be successful in this game?
I think the biggest thing, and I deal with it, but I think the biggest thing is figuring out what'll make them work.
Mm-hmm.
I see kids or players that if you just say, hey, let's get out here and go and run and do this, they're going, oh man, I don't want to do it. But if you take that camera and say, hey, we're fixing to post this on Instagram, or we're gonna post it on Twitter, then they're gonna be full speed all out, and so if that's what it takes,
right.
Hey, get the camera out and let it go, because and sometimes I think you got to go back and remind them of what they said they wanted to.
Right.
You can't want it more than them.
Exactly.
Sometimes you sit there and, hey, we got this many more. I'm tired. I don't want to do it. I had one of my big guys that I coached at Carrollton, and I talked to him, and one time I had to get on him. I said, hold on. When you came in, you told me you wanted to be the best in the country, and I said, this effort, that's not what it is,
right.
And so sometimes it's just reminding them that this is what you said you wanted.
Right.
It's not. I treat it the same in my business when I'm talking to my sales team and whoever. Like I can get on you and tell you, hey, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, but these are the goals you said you wanted to do.
Right.
You said you wanted to hit this. So I'm going to figure out what motivates you to do that, but it's got to come from you. This is what you said you wanted, so let's work to get there.
Exactly. We talked about coaching. I know you coached at Cartersville, but you got to Carrollton, and you became the offensive coordinator of a program of that stature. For them to entrust you to be the offensive coordinator at a school like that, you had to be an impressive coach. You had to have done some great things in the field to get that opportunity. What was it like dealing with that situation? Because when you're a coordinator, that's a different level than just a position coach. So what was if you was talking to a young man out there now that inspired to be a coach or a coordinator, how do you get to that point, and how do you handle that pressure, especially at a school like Carrollton, where they expect you to win?
The biggest thing about that is making sure you're surrounded by good people. Making sure that you're surrounded by great coaches, making sure that you're pouring everything you can into the players. As a coach at Carrollton or at Cartersville or wherever at Rome, like you got to do extra. There's some places that you can get away with doing the bare minimum. You can get away with it. At a place like that, you can't. I got to Carrollton. It was my 15th year coaching, or 16th year coaching when I went into Carrollton. So I had a while of coaching. And then obviously it's a little easier to do it when you got some players that's pretty good, but I got coaches around me that were really good in the offensive staff room, but also like Coach King, he's one of the best offensive minds in the state, in the country, whatever you want to call it. And he's right there. And so we go in and game plan together. Where everything that we do, we game plan together and making sure that we're all on the same page and we all feel good about it.
Right.
So the biggest thing is surround yourself with good people, and just continue to work. Like don't ever think you've arrived. Sometimes I go in there and I think I know something, and Coach King come and walk in there and say, "Hey, what about this and this and this?" And I'm like, I ain't even thought about that.
Right.
Come on, tell me a little bit more
Right.
about that, or
Right.
talk to me about that. So you can't think you've arrived and
Right.
know everything. Like you got to always be hungry and want to work.
Definitely.
But that was the biggest thing.
That's great advice. And I think that can apply to anything in life. Surround yourself with good people. You learn more and you have an opportunity to be more successful. One more question about football. What was the toughest decision you ever made as a coach in what you would think?
The decision to quit coaching.
I was hoping that would bring you to this.
Yeah, 'cause
So what? How did you do that?
So probably more than anything.
And I don't want to say the word quit. I want to say you transition to another career. Let's put it like that. Because Reggie Perkins don't quit.
Yeah, because that's what it turned into. So the thing is kind of what took me a while to make this transition. I've got a good friend that been with State Farm for 10 years, 10 years. And, we go on vacation, we do things together. And probably every year for the past however many years, we've had conversations about it. And when we have those conversations, I go, all right, give me the information. I'll look at it. Then I said, man, I'm a coach, man. I'm a teacher and a coach. I can't do this and this and that. So then the more and more I talk to people, the more and more I talk to groups of different people, it correlates. It's a lot of the same stuff. You're still coaching people. Mm-hmm. You're still training people. You're still influencing people. Mm-hmm. You're still teaching people things that they didn't know before.
Sure.
And you can do it on a bigger scale. And once I get my office running like I need to, we're a year in right now. But once I get my office running like I need to, I can get back in it if I want to.
Right.
If that's the path I want to go. Probably the biggest thing that made the decision is that my son's 13 and my daughter's 9.
Right.
I can spend more time with them.
Right.
I can at any time go, all right, hey, I'm leaving to go pick him up or pick her up from this, or she's got some type of recital we're fixing to go do it, or she's got a play, or he's got practice, or he whatever it is. And I can go spend more time with them, spend more time with my wife, and spend, in that area. Because, Coach, honestly, for the past, my last 10 years of coaching at Cartersville and Carrollton, we played for 6 state championships. Wow. So we played for 6, 1, 2, and the other years we were in the 3rd or 4th round of playoffs.
So that's basically 6 months schedule. That's June to December.
That's June, really July to December. June is still, you got a little time. Right. July to December, we work 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And on Saturdays we didn't go in the office, but Saturdays was probably my busiest day. So we were finishing stuff, or I'd wake up and get to work, and then it's like, all right, I got to go to my son's game, and then all right, good job. Mm-hmm. I got to get back to work. Right. And it was 7 days a week for the past 10 years, which I loved it. I loved it, and it's work. It's rewarding. Yeah. It's great. People ask me, do you miss it? I do some, but we're so busy. I'm so busy trying to figuring this stuff out and learning this that I hadn't had a whole lot of time. Weeks 13, 14, and 15 is hard. Right. When it's on the line, and last year, they play for another championship, and that time. So it's hard during that time. Yeah. When you go out and see the players and see the team, see the coaches, see different people, it's hard at times. Yeah. But when I'm able to go back and see that I'm able to leave when I need to and go spend time with my family and that type of stuff it's worth it.
Right. Well, you are definitely in the people business, and this is an important business. I think about insurance. Man, it's done a lot for me over the years because I've had a few major surgeries, and insurance is taking care of that, and it's definitely something needed. But everybody don't see it like that. what is your best pitch to try to get people, and even the people that's watching this podcast today, what would you say to them why you really need to take having insurance serious? What would you say to them as a salesperson to get them to come see you, man?
So honestly, Coach, I try not to be a salesperson.
I understand.
The biggest thing, people talk about insurance and they say, oh, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. Well, it is a scam until you need it. Right? That's what people think. People think, yeah, it's a scam or it's a whatever.
Right.
I'm paying you all this money for this. And it sounds like it is until you need it. Yeah. Right? Until you need it. The biggest thing for me and my insurance, I'm probably my highest, my biggest customer.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does for me more than anything is give me peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
It's peace of mind. I know that right now that if something were to happen to me, my family is going to be taken care of. We're not going to have to worry about how we're going to pay for school for my kids, how they're going to pay for my mortgage, how they're going to pay for that stuff. And I'm not and I guess I'm in the sales business. I guess that's what we're doing. But if I'm walking out and having to sell you stuff, like, that's not me.
Right.
That's not me. I try to talk to people and have honest conversations with people about this profession, about this business, and let people make their decisions based on that.
Right.
You have to have car insurance. If you got a mortgage, you have to have homeowners insurance. If you live in an apartment, you probably got to have some type of renter's insurance. But probably the hardest, the toughest part of my job probably is having conversations with people, and talking to people about things that they don't feel necessary. Mm-hmm. Like they don't feel like it's necessary until it's too late.
Sure.
I try to get my team to do more of the cars and the homes, and I try to have conversations. I have conversations with people more about their future and the future of their family and what that looks like, whether that's investment, whether that's retirement, or is that life insurance? If something happens to you, is your family taken care of?
Sure.
And the hardest part of that job for me is to have that conversation with people and not be pushy about it, but also don't let it go.
Right.
Because it's the worst thing you can do if we have something, somebody pass away that's in our book of business, or somebody that I know pass away, or whatever happens. It's like, did we have that conversation with them?
Right.
Could I have done more?
Sure.
Could I have said more? Because I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to, every time somebody sees Reggie Perkins' name come on the call, they go, man, he's trying to sell me something.
Right.
I don't want to be that person. Right. I'm not going to be that person. But there's things that people need that I'll feel like I'm not doing my job if I don't offer it to them.
Right. You made a good point about people don't think about it till it's too late or till they need it. In my experiences, the young people are the ones that really, if you think about all the young people we've been losing, it's been so many young deaths of late, and a lot of them don't have insurance, and I know when you're young, insurance is much cheaper, than it is when you get older. What would you tell those people out there that might be watching and saying, I ain't worrying about insurance right now? What would you tell them to try to get them to understand the importance of insurance?
The biggest thing, Coach, is probably, I don't know if it's a whole lot I can tell them. The way with life insurance and that type of stuff, a lot of times people got to trust you and know you and believe it. Believe what you say.
Right.
I can go tell them something and it's like, well, he's trying to sell me this.
Sure.
Look at your parents, look at your grandparents, look at where they are. Mm-hmm. Look at what's going on with them. If something were to happen to them, is somebody going to have to pay for their funeral?
Right.
Is somebody going to have to pay for whatever else they have, going on,
Mhm.
right? And
Because I mean, you have people whose houses burned down, they got property coverage. You have, there are car wrecks, and I think having somebody that's armed with this business. I mean, some people don't have collision coverage. They don't have, car replacement
Right.
coverage. It's a lot of different things that people don't have in those policies, and I think that's important,
Mhm.
for you to tell people.
and that's the thing, we try to go through everybody's policy and make sure they're properly covered,
Right.
make sure they have everything. You were talking about the life insurance for young people. That's the cheapest you're going to, today is the cheapest you're going to
Yeah.
ever go get it, and all it takes, I've got a good friend, and I won't say his name, but he had, and he's not insured, or he has some insurance with me, but he had life insurance before I opened up.
Mhm.
And just a couple of years ago, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, he went and bought a big life insurance policy on
Mhm.
himself. Well, within the next 2 years, he was diagnosed with cancer. And so now, if he'd have waited 2 years, he would have probably not been able to get those policies.
Sure.
And now, but he was able to get it and taken care of it. So that's the biggest, I think, issue that young people have, is thinking it's not going to happen to me. I'm 20 something. I'm 30 something. I'm not going to die till I'm 80, till I'm 90.
Right. I'm not going to get sick.
I'm not going to get sick. I'm not going to get disease. That happens to these other people. It don't happen to me.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest misconception and the biggest thing. Like, look, it's cheap.
Right.
It's cheap. You can get a 20-year-old can get a life insurance policy for under $20.
Right.
And
Right.
it depends on what you're looking for,
Right.
but you can go ahead and get insured and be taken care of.
Right. Did you ever consider opening this agency anywhere else? And it's another part of this. Why did you come home to do this?
So this was the opportunity opened up here.
Okay.
So it wasn't
Wasn't an option, really.
yeah, it wasn't a deal to where I was going to open one and I could open it wherever I wanted
got
to.
you.
And opportunities, the way this works is there's opportunities that open up in certain places.
Sure.
And when I had that conversation with my buddy, he said, "Hey, I'm gonna put you in contact with the sales leader of the Rome area," because they knew I was from Rome, and that was a big part of it. With me getting the opportunity was that I was from Rome. I knew that there's connections here, and I can get back and kind of help the community some,
Right.
and some of those opportunities. So it was more of this is where the opportunity was than me moving the opportunity.
Well, I'm glad you came here, man. I think you got a great opportunity here to give back to your community that you grew up in. Rome, I talk to a lot of people about Rome. Rome is a special place. In your opinion, what makes Rome special?
I'd say with all of them, it's the people, the people, and I mean, Rome is you got different sides of town, different areas, different things, but there's a lot to do here, and the people. I think with any place, the people is what makes the place.
And I always tell people about Rome. Rome, they don't take good to outsiders. They love their own.
Yeah.
If you from here, man, you in. But if you come from somewhere else in here, you're gonna have to pay some dues. So I think that's gonna help you tremendously being here. We both in the education field. I feel like teachers, churches, business people can be such an impact. Sometimes I wonder if we're doing enough because you continue to see a lot of the young deaths and the young issues that a lot of our youth have. You see a lot of poverty. What do you think teachers, coaches, business people together can do to, try to help the youth thrive a little more?
Just get back in the community. Get back in the community. I see. I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club. That's where I was. That's where I learned everything essentially there, and I try to go back over there and just I might be out there just shooting basketball or doing something with them, but I've got to do more of that. Once I keep saying once this happens, but it's essentially you just got to do it. You got to take action.
Right.
That's the biggest thing is taking action. I see Sierra McKnight. She's doing a lot and going through that stuff, and I need to get in contact with her so I can be a part of some of that stuff that she's doing. But that's a big. I think getting to them while they're young, talking to people in middle school and elementary school. But I think a lot of that has to do with their parents too.
Definitely.
Like it's just like as you're a teacher, you try your best to. And a coach, you give and give and give and do everything, and then they go home to
not a structured environment.
Right. So it's like you fighting a battle going back and forth. And so it's definitely a lot with the young people, but I think it's a lot with their parents and stuff too, figuring out how to do some things to educate them and to maybe take a little burden off of them, with them.
Definitely.
I think that's a big part of it.
Definitely, no question about that. I got some questions here, rapid fire.
Okay.
You're a pretty smart guy. I want to see if you can answer these quickly for us.
Right.
Okay. Favorite football memory?
Favorite football memory? That's not going to be fast then, I don't guess. Favorite football memory? I lost.
You've had a lot of.
I've now. I don't have a whole lot of brain. We do some stuff, and people will say, "Hey, you remember this happened?" Not really. Not really. But the biggest thing is being with your teammates. I mean, that's whether it's playing and being with teammates in high school or college or coaching. I tell you, all right, I go probably one of my favorite memories is. My last year playing, we beat Buford at Buford, and RJ's on the sideline with me. My son's on the sideline with me. Get after the game, we do a little handshake and give him a hug. That memory. That's honestly, and that's great. And that has nothing to do with me playing or coaching.
But that's great that you had it with your kid, man. That's special. Do you have a favorite coach?
It's a lot of them. I'd say Coach Sparks, Coach Turner. It was my head coach in college and my offense coordinator in college. They were special.
Do you have a college teammate you always stay connected with?
I've coached with Joey and Jason.
Right, and y'all
for how long we played together. Right. And Coach Phillips was there, and so I got a little group, but Jason Coates and Joey, and Ray Hightower. It's a few of them. I can keep naming some people.
I understand. Yeah. What is your business goal here in Rome, man? What is your goal?
To bring awareness, to teach people, to have people understand what this is about, have people think more about their future than the right now. A lot of the old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. People just see right now. And I can't spend this on this, or I can't put this money away because of this, or and then 10 or 20 years down the road, now they're struggling because they didn't do what they're supposed to. So more of bringing awareness, whether it's with me or with whoever else, just bringing awareness to the community and helping this community.
Sure. If you could give one piece of advice to every young person in Northwest Georgia, what would that be?
Work hard. I mean, to me, that's the key. Do right. I don't remember where I was, but that was the we had so-and-so had rules. The rules is do right.
Right.
If you do right, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Work your tail off and do right.
Good. Well, Reggie, I appreciate this opportunity, man, to come in here and speak to you and get some recognition out on your State Farm agency here. I came in and I noticed you had a lot of people in here working. Everybody looked like they was on the phone and busy. And I know you're a busy guy, man, and I appreciate this opportunity to sit down with you, man. There you have it, Life Unscripted, authentic conversation with Mr. Reggie Perkins, the owner of State Farm Insurance Agency here in Raleigh at 701 East 2nd Avenue. Come in here for all your insurance needs. Remember, you can catch Life Unscripted with authentic conversations. This interview will be out Saturday at 12 noon. You can catch it on Charles Smith's Facebook page. You can catch it on Instagram at Bull, BULL_DAWG Dog 1980. That's for the 1980 University of Georgia National Champions. And Life Unscripted by Coach Charles E. Smith on YouTube. Stay tuned and we'll see you soon. Blessings.